Well, even though this is not going to be original music per se, I don't believe. This looks like a mix. I'm gonna transfer it anyway and see what happens. Looks like it might have some interesting stuff in it. But then we have to return it. So that is definitely Jack the Tab Acid beat. That record featured some artists such as Psychic TV. Yeah, that was a project by Dennis, I believe. Probably Christian Rose, you know. But I was spinning stuff like this also at the club, so really weird shit. up. This is a Psycho mixtape. Gotta be real This is mostly the stuff when I DJ'd at Limelight and stuff like that. I was playing stuff like this. For sure, the era that I was in when I was in there. I mean, this is straight up crazy, dark VIP room, drag queens, like literally just all kinds of madness going on, debauchery, Grace Jones, Madonna in the corner making out. It's like a lot of like Front 242 and yeah, this shit is playing in New York. No doubt about it. First of all, you gotta also understand that back then there was a lot of different styles going on. So even industrial stuff like this, it wasn't that far out there at all. And people appreciated different kinds of music and would go from one country to the next. So I was play some stuff like this, and like building. These are specific energies. You shouldn't be taking too much to heart as in styles and genres. You need to kind of feel them as energies that don't really exist. I think that's a story. And artists have to say it's not about that. You're supposed to be noticing the results and the frequencies that these people emit. That's some cheesy, I don't know what this is, but this is definitely probably some stuff. I wish Ben Stokes was on the line right now. He would know probably. Consolidated. Skinny Puppy. You'd have a whole other genre if it just slows down half speed. I think back then, I think during this era, you really have to notice and really listen to how things are compressed. It's a really amazing thing because you have to also remember how this stuff is made. Sequences and breakdowns, it really went in. I mean, sometimes some of the songs that John and I did were we worked on them for months. Sometimes around months, but I've had things that I just put aside for years. I don't think there's anything unusual about it, but it's certainly not ideal and somewhat painful too. Lords of Acid. I'm seeing something really interesting here. Here, look at this. There's one track here that is solo mono. Why would I pan this like that? So that probably is an original composition if it's all fucked up like that. Because back then I used to do really quick things over other things, and sometimes they were mono, so they were just one input maybe on the left side and then an effect on the right. So because I only had 2 tracks to work with. Let's see.
Men are slaves who walk on all fours, something hardly likely to happen here on Earth.
Yeah.
Psycho.
Oh,
Psycho.
yes.
Psycho.
I'm glad I caught this.
Psycho.
These are the
Psycho.
original samples.
Psycho.
That was fucking crazy, man. These are nuts. They were supposed to be like little sound designs. No. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to find out. It's really confusing. But the way it's recorded sure as hell says to me that this is way Yeah, someone's got to figure out the hell this is. No, definitely not. Long.
Psycho. Known for the samples, guaranteed harmful, banned from the estates as it lowers the rates. This beat's a pit bull. It's a groove. Goose get down. Goose get down.
Okay, so that calls it because the track is placed on the right side only. Very strange. And then it's interrupting a whole other mix. So we have to label that and find out if that was a composition from then that was overlaid. And so a lot of the archiving has to do with this. You got to do a little bit more than just digitized stuff. You have to watch out for things like this. Because you might find a gem somewhere in there, and then you have to be fast, real fast at collecting it, recording it again, and then capturing it. Okay, so let's move on. I don't know if we'll ever finish this. Let's check out what this is. It says Dance Craze. Alright. Just play a little just to see. Ska. Oh, this old tape of ska, reggae. Cool. Ooh, this might be good. In fact, there's no doubt about it. This is going to be really good. We'll get to that later. Put that in the magic area. Move on, move on. Terry Hunter. Interesting. Terry Hunter. Bobby Condors. I'll come back to that. Huh. Not quite sure. Spin the wheel a little bit. All right. Let's just go straight for something that has no label on it, shall we? Let's see what the hell is on here. I'm hoping I find a 4-track cassette. I have no fucking clue, but it sounds like a sub-dub track that we never put out, probably. Just maybe something we were fucking around with, but we didn't finish. But we shall transfer it regardless. Let's just get everything digitized. So this should be probably around 1990. 92. 93. Can't be more than that. A lot of things changed when we got signed to Instinct, which was, I believe, 94. Yeah, it's just, I don't really, this is so old I can't recall it, and I can see why we didn't put it out. It's just way too repetitive. But it's like, yeah, I get it. We all get it. Let's move on. See what's after it, though. There might be something. Still going. It's a lot about trading between the distorted bass and the other like that. So I was more like dueling distortions was the idea, I think, of that dub. I'll give it another shot. And then we could work on Toxine. Okay, so this is going to be 4-track, possibly 2-track, but definitely multi-tracked. In other words, I did one thing and then I did something over it. Of probably just percussion. I can however, I can show you how I can process some of this and kind of update it just through very basic effects that I put together here with guitar pedals, which would have existed back then as well. Most of these tapes, if they're 90 minutes, it's 40 minutes, but it's actually a lot less when you do 4 tracks. Okay, so this is probably supposed to be played up on high speed. Just check what's on each one. There's something there. That center. Yeah, you hear the jingles. I know that drum.
that's 4 tracks laid down on, meaning I did a 4-track deck, so that has to be after. Also, I remember that drum. Love that drum. I don't remember where it went. Again, what we're doing is we're digitizing old cassettes from the 80s and the 90s. And mastering them. They'll all be available. A lot of time while I played during this time, I was using a ring that was on my finger. I had a few of them, around 3 rings on each hand that I would use sometimes to hit, so you get that metallic sound in between the skin. So the Freakatone releases that came on the Ghost Producer Bandcamp, if you go to those, you'll hear a synthesis version of that effect, which is the metallic ring, on the skin, on the membrane. And then using the various pitches you can get on the sides of the drum, so you can rotate it different ways while you're playing it. And these are all like phasing effects. Hear that? Right, so you get this phasing effect. That's all done organically though, it's just right. Playing on these precise areas of the skin. It's also mic placement, Most of the time I didn't really think about it with the mic placement. I was just kind of move it around, but I think I got it a little bit better by this point compared to that earlier stuff that we played, which was so dense with noise. Alright, man, it's good to talk to you. Alright, check in tomorrow. Peace.
Looks like that's it for that one. Twisted. Some of this is amazing how some of these tapes are blank. Even though we really needed that. Don't know about you guys, but I'm very curious about this Terry Hunter cassette. Most likely has copyrighted material on it. But we can give it a shot. Hopefully YouTube won't shut down. Let's just see what happens.
This poem shall call names.
Oh, yeah.
Names like Lumumba, Kenyatta, Nkrumah, Hannibal, Akhenaton, Malcolm, Gandhi.
Bobby Condors. Poem. Alright. Alright, so we know this song. It's a classic. You've heard it before. Nothing. Nothing to show. Tape's jammed. Move on. Well, that makes sense because these are all mixtapes. Mostly. I didn't take good care of those. What's this? Whoa. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Like I said, I can tell when it's got the ghost, because that sound you heard, remember that echo is from the Multivox chamber, and that's the ghost producer. Everything you through that particular piece, and I used other ones exactly like it. Never happened again. There's something about this particular unit. Oh, that was a nice crunch. I know what that track is in the background. Yep, I remember this. This is wow. This one's really bringing back memories. I think I called this something like Oceanides. Never came out on anything, but it was a cassette. It was on a cassette, original cassette production one, Rough Rhythm. Like 1992. It's all based off this horn sample, and it's really long because I had no way of editing when I made this. So yeah, this is actually earlier because this is when I did the Shepherd. Same style, drum machine, sample, echo chamber, and percussion. A lot of people would kill for the hiss that you're getting right here.
this was a series of, like, all of these tracks would usually go on for quite a long time, and they would be on a 60-minute cassette. But there'd only be like 2 tracks on each side. So this was one of those. And I sort of started doing that in the 90s because some of my tracks were several tracks that I made combined and mixed together, so it eventually became simpler to create long compositions. I was watching this guy doing these tutorials on tattooing, actually, and I thought about this a lot too, because he was talking about how you really have to focus only on what you're doing and not focus on the overall picture. Otherwise, you're going to drift off, you know. And he's completely right. You have to focus in only on the task at hand, which is when you're drawing or tattooing. It's just that line. And in this case, it's the same thing. When I was trying to create something. But the amazing thing about music is that you work within time, so you're able to sustain and extend and sometimes shorten time for people and how they're experiencing things. So. At some point, I'm pretty sure some heavy drums are going to come in. Have to keep in mind the medium that I'm using here. So if I was producing something for a cassette, specifically for that media type cassette, I didn't make this for a digital release. I didn't even know that was going to ever happen or exist. It was sort of, it did in my imagination. So I was making this for cassette. So I think it may seem like I would have to edit this if I was to release it in the digital realm, but on cassette I don't need to edit it. Fine the way it is, because there's all these other factors that have to do with that medium. Talk about lo-fi, huh? So this is definitely really, really old. About 30 years old. Or 29 years old. No, 28 years old. Whatever it is, it's not even that. It's just that it's been on a cassette sitting in a box. In fact, I think I have these on DAT tape later on. I digitized these in around 95. And I was, or actually earlier, because John was at Sterling Sound. And so I was using their DAT tapes to digitize everything that I had made in the 80s. But then a lot of DAT tapes drop out, so they wasn't a really reliable medium. This is also telling me that which mixer, it was this really old mixer I had, the Gemini. And not the ones I've been using recently, actually. A little newer. Patience to record this entire unedited version before I even understood that that was going to be possible. But like after those percussion recordings from the 80s, it seems kind of like hypothetically like things got simpler sonically, more organized or whatnot, but it's also just machines. Oh, it's not really me. The machines took over Terminator totally. I became like that Terminator when I started producing fully electronic music. So when I was coming from a percussionist, although I was using all of these things from the get-go as well, I mean, in fact, I was using electronics before I was playing percussion. Then 14 got into that, but then combining it was the ultimate transformation. I'll keep recording these because you never know what's going to happen. But it's odd going back to something that you didn't even, it's not like you went back 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, but more like 26 years ago, something like that. You really don't. It's a good way of just looking at how the balance of sound technology, how everything works together, how it transforms from one side to the other. And one thing is definitely not better than the other. So and yeah, I mean, this is super repetitive, way long, and like I said, it was on a cassette. So if you played this on a cassette in 1992, it would be a different experience going this long. But I totally, I'm about to lose my mind if I hear that horn one more time. But I'm glad the percussion's coming back. But the good news is how the loops are made. It wasn't possible for me to sync then. Not in a electronic sense. I had to do it live. And I eventually just came back to that method. I don't really just started there, and I'm still there. I did go full on quantized before, but came back. Quantization can sometimes depresses the shit out of me. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's just me. And that's fine. I just try to work without that. And but the interesting thing about that, though, is that quantization doesn't depress me when I hear it done by other people. If they're doing it, and if some people's music is quantized, and I'm going crazy. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with me. It doesn't work anymore for the balance of my neurons. Say we start fading out. Here's some. The other interesting thing about this all is that you will never see me do a, hey, let's all whip out our DAT tapes and do a way back when we used DAT tapes video where I'm, going through my DAT tapes and transferring them to a desktop. You're never going to see me do that because there's no frickin' way that any of those DATs play. And just pissed me off back then. There's a few things that happened as we transferred from one format to another. I have some Chuck Chill out here too.
that keep rolling while I do this. See what's on here. Sub-dub. Let's get some of that. Yeah, I remember this. Sub-dub, we were doing remixes of a few of our tunes, so for some other label, compilation, and we were into this jazzy vibe here. I don't know. It's kind of cool. So this must be... Instinct. Around 94? Yeah, I would say so. The saxophone player was in front of John's. Can't remember his name. To be honest, later on I became really against doing something like this, just for my own taste. I mean, if I do, it'll be particularly weird. I like the live performance vibe though it has. It's kind of interesting. And I do recall that this was from the reel-to-reel that we would carry around when we'd travel maybe in Europe. So if anyone heard us play in Europe in the early 90s, I think they might be familiar with this one. But the other reel that we played a few hours ago with all the water and the bubbles, that one is really crazy because that reel-to-reel, so it's an 8-track reel-to-reel, quarter-inch. So we had to lug these really big quarter-inch decks to all those shows. And eventually we started using 2 of them, so it was a lot. You had that, you had the mixers, all the cables, patch bay, effects, all that stuff. And that was before the cooler ever existed. And the cooler was became like the dopest spot to play for almost every genre in the 90s, like towards the later half of the 90s, and we all used to play there. I think I was one of the first people to play there. We did Sub-Dub show, I played solo, and then also improv shows with John Zorn, Elliot Sharp. So I was involved in all different kinds of scenes at that point. So between the improv scene and also
But Jedi, who ran that club, was a real catalyst for a lot of interesting collaborations. Yeah. This is bringing me back because I remember also playing around with the sax with the sampler, and I was getting that effect, and I was really excited about it. And just keep in mind, this is no computer is being used. This is all using tape, sequencers, MIDI, yes, but sequencer, and I think a Juno, and we had a bunch of drum machines. Oh, the jazz man is back. I like it. I mean, it wasn't my... I can't remember whose idea it was, but I don't think it was mine. Maybe it was. If it was a bad idea, it was definitely mine. He kept doing that, and I remember I kept looping that. And I had to cut these up into pieces and then trigger them on a keyboard. Yep. We were into those organs back then. Everyone was into organs. It wasn't just house, reggae, everything. Jackie Mittoo. And the whole church culture, It's also interesting to feel how it feels to loop something in the 80s, and then how it feels to loop something in the 90s, and then how it feels to loop something in the 2000s. It feels different, and it's interesting because you just think about it, Sampling an instrument that you record is also enormously indifferent than sampling an instrument from a record, from another person's production too. There's a whole level of unheard essence to it, and heard, to the difference between those two things. So, but in my opinion, everything sounds better when you sample it, whether it's your thing or someone else's thing. Yeah, I remember this part. Not bad. Alright, let's see what else is on this tape. Ugh, it's another mix. It's different though. Okay. Well. Yeah, this would be the more straightforward mix. We'd always do one like this. A lot of this kind of stuff is has to do with harvesting more stuff for the future, So when you mix a song, particularly with me, I'll mix it several different ways. I already have like a method of doing that, so I'm gonna get several different versions. Some of them sound completely different than the original. Some of them sound exactly as the original was meant to be. It sounds like we had baseline 303 on us. Yeah, so this is sub-dub 93, somewhere around there. Back when we were, should be pre-Instinct, so this is back when we were doing the EPs. The cassette's holding nicely, if this has, this has been played a few times, but I don't think too many times, as it was sitting in that box, so this was probably tossed into a box around 1994, sat in there, taken out sometime around 2000, put back in the box, and now it's back. The other great thing here is that I'm updating, this material just simply by EQing it according to how I'm hearing now. So how my ears have adjusted to how music sounds now is different than it was back then. It's not that music sounded as it does now back then, obviously not, and that also had to do with our ears expanding. So anyone who's really creating and really digging and trying to do something new is working off of how their ears are expanding. They're following their ears. But we were doing a few of these tracks, so we were mixing acid, dub, and I guess house. Acid House, dub, and yeah, I guess that's it. And then Austin on a saxophone player, but I don't know about that. I'm glad this one doesn't have it. No offense to the sax player, I think it was great. I just think this particular one is good. As an instrumental, I'm glad we did it. Anyway, we'll wrap this one up. CD thing hadn't really taken over yet, so we were always working towards vinyl, and I was the cassette one. I was the one focused on cassettes before I met John. I didn't even imagine I would get any of my stuff on vinyl until I met John, you know, and John had the hookup. John was doing tech at Sterling Sound in the early 90s when they were up in Midtown. Great experience hanging out there. Alright, let's see what else is on this tape. The signature sub-dub logo. It's hilarious. I remember blowing bubbles into a cup. That's how I got that sound, believe it or not. During the ambient dub epidemic of the early 90s, here we have another example. There are casualties of marijuana. Weirdly mixed, unbelievably weird. How the I just flipped it to mono real fast to see what would happen. That sounds like a phasing issue. Old sub-dub stuff. Sub-dub. New York City. The original sub-dub. And we put out this EP's called Bedouin, what the hell is it called? Babylon Unite EP. Another one was called Dawa Zangpo EP. Then we got signed to Instinct Records, and then we had LP called Subdub. Then we got signed to another label, and then we were doing all kinds of stuff. We moved around a lot, bunch of tours. I was always not into using patois on productions unless I was working directly with someone. Probably seems odd because I'm such a freaking chaotic person, but I actually have a lot of rules. God help you if you cross them. The really great thing about having Sterling Sound access just to some of those tools sometimes, and they were kind enough to let us, was detrimental to this because to the later on productions, because we would go back to Sterling with these DAT tapes, transfer them to much larger, what looked like VHS, tapes, much larger media. That was before DAT tapes, and we were using those to edit, but slowing them down was something that you could do in a really deep way with those. And it was sort of a new thing. You could slow things down on a 1/4-inch tape, have any tape deck, but this was different. It was like really, really slow. It was digital, early thing. And honestly, the first time I heard that digital pitch shift, that is really extreme. I mean, extreme in the sense that it can go way lower than a tape deck can go. And you hear the math happening with how it's glitching and how it is stretching the sounds. The first time I heard that was in the 90s. So when I heard it, I said, oh, that is going to be, a lot of music. It's going to be encapsulated inside of that kind of idea and that texture. And I think, for the most part, I was right. Yeah, and again, those bubbles were blown with my own mouth. Straight to tape. Sounds like it might be that lexicon delay that John was so excited about when he got. I actually just started using, around then I started using just guitar pedal delays. And that was really all I needed for those live shows when those really portable, shows. See if there's anything on side B. No, it's weird. Why? really just gluttony. We had so many tapes at our disposal that we just didn't care, I guess. Really didn't care. Okay, we did that. Alright, well, let's call it a night. I think we can all agree on that. See you on the flip side.